Jay Clark here with Dunlop. Today we're going to walk you through how to change your tire. I've got the MX33, which Don mentioned, and we're going to show you the tools you need to do the job right now. I'd like to have some baby powder. This works really well, keeping the tube and the tire from chafing and wearing out. Will also help a little bit in preventing pinch flats, helping it work well. Tire paste. We have this Pro Buds. You can get stuff at the auto parts store, or Hunter Engineering makes a good one that we use. There's also a couple of others that work really well as well. A 10 or 12 millimeter wrench, ratcheting wrench for your rim lock, depending upon your bike. Most of them are 12s. 2 or 3 Motion Pro tire spoons like this. A bead buddy is just really a must. A good tire gauge. All the Motion Pro products with the gauge, the spoons, and the bead buddy, all available from Dennis Kirk. All right, so I like to start with the sprocket side up. And we like to get the valve stem and cap all the way off. And then the nut that holds the valve stem of the tube, and I like to get that all the way off. I'm going to take the core all the way out. Our next step will be loosening the rim lock. So I backed off the rim lock nut, and I back it off just to where there's just a couple threads holding it on. And then I'm going to start knocking the tire off the bead. Now I've got it all the way off the bead on one side. Now I'm going to flip it over, and now I got that disc side up that I'll start removing. I'm going to knock it off the bead as well. Okay, so we're all the way off. And when you come in with a bite, see that? So that's as deep as you want to go. Is you just feel it pop right under the tire. You don't want to go in any further than you need to. You can use your left hand to kind of push down a hair as you're working your way around. Okay, so we're fully off. I'm going to flip it over. I got the rim lock over here. And again, I'm going to start about 1/4 of the way away or so from the rim lock and work my way around again, just like this. And then again, my left hand can push down on the tire. And now I can push my body against the tire and tube here. And then I can come over here and pull the valve stem out. And I can push down on this is kind of the cool way we do it, just all pops off together. First thing I like to do before I forget is to come check out that the tape or the band is in good shape. There's no spoke sticking through. Okay, so it's looking good. We have our new tire, MX33, and I've already put some powder in here. And when you put powder in, you don't have to put a bunch. I just put a tiny bit. When you put it in, you just kind of tap the tire around like this. Can't really have too much. Don't put a ton in there. You just work your tube back in. So at this point, I like to just put a bit of air in here. We want it to fill the tube. And then at this point, we're gonna use our tire paste. I like to keep a sponge in there, because like with a sponge, I can go easily around it like this. And then I want to get this inside lip right here as well. Now this tire is not directional, which is nice. If you're doing tires, you always want to look to make sure that if it's directional or not. The front MX33 is directional. So when you're doing the front, you want to pay attention that you get it the right direction. I always look on here and you can kind of go, okay, and then make sure you got it right. Okay, so now we're all lubed up. I have the valve stem nut. I put this on just like so. And you see I have the disc side back on top. And at this point, I can work the rim lock in like this, and I got my body against the tire, and I can push down on the tire, and I get it about 60, 70% on. And I go with my spoon going this way, and I can lift up the tire with my left hand underneath, just like this. So I'm not scratching the rim as I were to slide it under. I can lift up a little bit, pop it under. Now I like to flip it over and just make sure that everything's happy on this side, which I already know it is, but just come over here. I want to move the rim lock, make sure the tube is not under the tire there. If it was, I'd put my spoon under here and walk out the tire, make sure the tube is not caught. So now when I come back over here, and I make sure the tube is all the way in the tire, and especially at the rim lock, I want to lift up and make sure the tube's on top of the rim lock. Rim lock moves nice. The tube can get stuck under the rim lock. That's something, especially if you feed the tube in. So now at this point, I got my 2 spoons holding it like this to place the bead buddy just like that. So we're going to start right here, just get a bite right before the rim lock here. I'm kind of close, so I'm going to hold that rim lock down with one finger. Same with the tube. And then I'm walking around, and my left hand is holding down on the tire as I push down like that, knocking it off the bead. This distance right here is a little tough, but I can lift up on the tire and slide in. Now, if this distance was less, I'd probably space it out so I wasn't having to slide in there really hard and scratch the rim. Now we're going to fill it up. Okay, so the amount of pressure like in this one right now is around 25 PSI or so to fill it up. Now I'm all the way beat it up. So the first thing we like to do is tighten up the rim lock. And so you can tighten it down by hand right to there. And then get it good and snug. If you over tighten this, you can break it. And now we're going to set tire pressure. For most tracks, we're anywhere from the 12.5 to 13 range. I would say out here in Southern California, 12.8 to 13 is a good place to be. Okay, so that concludes it. Don't be scared to change your own tire. If you're riding moto regularly, it's going to be worth the investment to get the tools, the stand, and to be able to change your tires. It'll be good for your overall moto experience.